Americans are durable. We take pride in hard work and high quality. American Giant makes durable, quality clothing right here in the USA. Because what we wear reflects who we are. When you buy American Giant, you're not just wearing the best clothes money can buy. You're helping keep jobs and pride in your own backyard. Premium clothing built to last decades, like it should. Get 20% off your first order at American-Giant.com with code RightHere24.
This time of year, a good hoodie is absolutely essential, and the American Giant Classic Full Zip Hoodie is made to last a lifetime. With timeless style, heavyweight fleece, and durable details, you can depend on it for years to come. Snag the hoodie that will bring you comfort for life, the American Giant Classic Full Zip, and save 20% off your first order at American-Giant.com when you use code CLASSIC24 at checkout. That's 20% off your first order at American-Giant.com, code CLASSIC24.
Now, The Hunt Palmer Show.
Yes! I feel like I've been waiting for this my entire life.
You're listening to The Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN, Baton Rouge.
Jolly good fun. Jolly good.
Locking down the middle of the day.
America's favorite daytime fun show.
Live from the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge studio. This is Hunt Palmer.
Tuesday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show. 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. The Athletic polled 8 college baseball coaches, not anonymously. Their names are right there, and their answers were attached to their names. It had some interesting questions that they asked, and LSU players are involved. Some of the best position players you've ever seen, best pitchers you've ever seen, best current player in college baseball. Paul Maneri was asked. Kevin O'Sullivan was involved as well. So I'm going to go through some of those answers coming up in 15 minutes from right now. If you were here at the end of hour number 1, I teased that Jay Johnson has announced his starting shortstop and third baseman for Friday. He did so with Mike Scarborough and Kendall Rogers on Tiger Bait's YouTube channel. It was brought to my attention, and I looked it up in the break, and yet he sure did, which it shocked me that he did that, because we know that Jay Johnson keeps things close to the vest. You don't ask him about potential starting pitchers. Don't ask about injuries. He just plays things very close to the vest. And I have listened to Jay Johnson on the Sidewinder podcast this morning on the way to work, and D1 Baseball's podcast. I've listened to him on The Advocate. I've heard him on Off the Bench. I've heard him in press conferences. I've listened to just about all the speaking that Jay Johnson has done, including the first pitch banquet and whatever he said at the Rotary Club. I've heard it all, and I haven't heard him name a starting pitcher or a shortstop or a third baseman anywhere. So I was surprised to see that he did it on Tiger Bait's YouTube channel, but he did. Kendall Rogers asked, hey, how do you think that's going to shake out? And he said, what's going to happen? And now that I've held you hostage for a minute and a half, I'll let you know that Michael Braswell will be the third baseman and Stephen Milam will be the shortstop on Friday. This is where things have been trending the entire fall, because he said that, meaning Jay Johnson said that he wanted the best defender to play shortstop. And then he has consistently referred to Stephen Milam as the best defender. So he never said Stephen Milam's the shortstop, but if you were able to connect those two dots, that's where this was headed all along. I have given you my thoughts on this. I'll briefly do it again. I think Stephen Milam is going to be a good shortstop. I think he's a little bit limited in terms of arm strength. He does have really good quickness. He does have really good hands. And I don't think he's going to be a detriment to LSU in any way, but I think he's a little bit limited in what he can do. So I think he's going to be fine, not elite defensively. I think Michael Braswell, once again, will be fine. I think he can be just about as good as Tommy White. Now, y'all remember, Tommy White had a very, very good defensive year last year. Made a ton of plays on the move coming forward. Made some plays to the backhand side as well. Did a good job ranging to his left. Like, he played a good third base. He wasn't really able to play a good third base his first year at LSU as a sophomore in 2023 because he got hurt the first inning of the first game. Like, his shoulder was hurt the whole season. And that's a big deal. If you were to come to LSU games in 2023, especially late in the season, he wasn't even taking infield. Like, the team would be out there taking infield and he'd be just standing off to the side. I mean, he was in pain. And it didn't really affect him from a production standpoint as far as hitting goes. I can't speak to how he was feeling, but he didn't play a lot of defense. Well, he was able to get that surgery, repair everything in July after the College World Series. And he came back last year as a junior and really did a good job at third base. And I think Braswell can do a good job at third base. Braswell is not what you would consider quick. And I think of third basemen oftentimes as having quick hands to make a play on a hot shot at the hot corner. But he does have pretty good hands. He's got enough arm. It's not a cannon, but he's got enough arm. And I think LSU will be okay at shortstop and third base. I don't think elite. I would take Josh Smith at either spot defensively. I would take Alex Bregman at either spot defensively. I would take Jordan Thompson, quite frankly, at shortstop. I would certainly take Austin Nola. There are a lot of guys that I've seen that I would probably prefer playing there. And I think Stephen Milam is a professional second baseman. You just don't see a ton of 5'7" shortstops. But at this level, with what you're asking your shortstop to do, I think Stephen Milam will be fine. I think Michael Braswell will be fine. So that's my take on the left side of the infield. Not awesome. I think they'll be fine. I want to talk about the freshmen on this baseball team here pretty briefly, not going in depth on all of them, but I really do think this is a very, very good freshman class, and it's not overly big. At this point, let me make sure my numbers are right. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So 10 freshmen. Like, that's a low number. You usually don't have a lot of seniors in college baseball, and you do have a lot of freshmen who generally move on. But as you understand, LSU's going to go to the transfer portal pretty heavily, and there are roster limitations, so you're going to take less freshmen. That's just the way the math works out. But I think this freshman class has a lot of really good pieces. You start with the two guys who are most likely to start, and that's, of course, Derek Curiel in left field and Cade Arambidi at catcher. You've heard about these two guys a ton by now, so I'm not going to overload you with that. Just know that I think it's likely Curiel hits near the top of the lineup from the start of this thing. He may be the best pure hitter on the team at this point, which is not something you say about a lot of true freshmen, but you're getting a lot of freshman Bregman, freshman Cruz vibes here. And again, those are two of the greatest players to ever wear the uniform. And I'm not telling you Curiel's going to be a 3-time All-American. I'm telling you he could be. Like, he's going to be really, really good. I was thrilled to see him line a home run into the seats in right field back on Saturday. Arambidi is going, I think, to be eased in a little bit. Wouldn't surprise me if he starts on Sunday of this week. Wouldn't surprise me if he starts on Tuesday of next week. Wouldn't stun me completely if he started on Friday, but I think Hernandez will be that guy. I believe that the staff is going to lean on the older player there, but Arambidi has got every tool you could want. I mean, when you look at a catcher who is 6'3", 205 pounds, with a big arm and a powerful bat and the ability to move a little bit, like he can run a little bit, like he's really toolsy. He really is, and it's just a matter of when it clicks for him and he becomes the next great catcher at LSU. So those are the two guys most likely to be in that lineup. Then you go to the guys, I think, on the mound if you're looking for the next impact, and that to me starts with Kason Evans, 6'2", 195 pounds, throws 99 miles an hour from the Houston area, has a good changeup, and when you can pair a 99 mile an hour fastball with a good changeup, you're a handful. And I expect Kason Evans by the start of SEC play to be pitching in big spots. I think this kid has got the whole package as a pitcher, and I'm excited to see what he does this year. You know about William Schmidt at this point. Got some of the best stuff on the staff. The breaking ball is legitimate. The fastball was, for all the time I saw him pitch on Saturday, between 93 and 96. And that's in February. You're talking about a kid that continues to get into that strength and conditioning program, continue to work with the resources you've got at LSU. It's not unrealistic to believe that William Schmidt, by the end of the season this year, is consistently throwing 96 miles an hour with the most spin-heavy breaking ball on the team. Like, that just is what he is. He's an immense talent. And so those two guys are certainly worth talking about. And then the next two guys, I think, could find their way into some innings here and there. It probably starts with Maverick Rizzi, who is, 6'9", 255 pounds. He's from Massachusetts, and he throws very hard. Mid-90s fastball once again, with just all kinds of elbows and kneecaps flying everywhere because of how big he is on the mound. So that's a guy that the staff is high on. And then Cooper Williams. I think Cooper Williams profiles as a starting pitcher down the line. He's one of those left-handed guys, got a smooth delivery, can throw multiple pitches for strikes, never looks like he's in a rush, Doesn't have that like max effort bullpen style wind up. He looks in control, and he doesn't have elite velocity because look, you're talking about a kid who's 6'4", 200 pounds and left-handed. If you're 6'4", 200 pounds and left-handed, and you throw 97, you don't go to college. That's just the way it works. So with Cooper Williams, you're looking at a fastball closer to 90-91, and I think that there's more in that tank, and I think that he is probably down the list here behind Evans and Rizzi and Schmidt in terms of innings right out of the chute or this year. But I think you're talking about a guy that has the stuff to be a really good college pitcher. Jim Schlossnagle had him committed at Texas A&M. When he left to go to Texas, Williams opened things up and it eventually ended up at LSU. If Jim Schlossnagle likes you and Jay Johnson likes you, I think you got a pretty good future. And I think Cooper Williams absolutely does. So that's kind of the guys I expect to have a role on this team, or could very well have a role on this team. I don't think Mikey Ryan or David Hogg has a role on this team, but I do know for sure the staff likes both of them a lot. Mikey Ryan is a 6-foot infielder who went to Rummel. David Hogg is a Houston native. He's 6'2", 195 pounds. He switch hits. He's a good athlete. He plays good defense. Those guys are behind, I think, your Danny Dickinsons, your obviously Braswell and Milam on the left side, even probably Tanner Reeves. But they're young, they've got some ability, and I think they'll get some mop-up time here. And then you got the other two freshmen. Ryan Costello really swung the bat well in the fall. That was not necessarily considered a big draft risk, but you look at him, he's 6'3", he's left-handed, he profiles as a big power-hitting first baseman. And you love those. You've got one right now who's that and some, but Costello could be that next guy. You're talking about a guy who, with a year in the weight program, could be opening day next year, 6'3", 225, hitting left-handed. Like, that's a big boy that's ready to do some damage. So I'm curious. He will get some at-bats in mop-up time. Costello will. I don't know that he's in line for any DH time or anything like that right now, but he stung it in the fall, and the staff wants to see him hit. So I think he will get some mop-up time at-bats. And then you got John Pearson, who is Josh's brother, and that's kind of where their similarities start. They're both Jay Pearson, and that's about where the similarities stop. Josh is officially listed by LSU as I pull him up here. Josh is 5'10", 190 as a senior. 5'10", 190. John is 6 feet, 248. He's got 60 pounds on his 3-year older brother. And John is a power hitter. He wants to hit it a long way. He doesn't necessarily have a position. First base is blocked up a little bit. He's working at third. He works a little bit in left field, although I don't think that's a future. He's got to learn to play third base. If he learns to play third, he's only 6 feet tall. If he learns to play third base, he could be a draftable prospect. But if you're just talking about in terms of LSU, he feels like a guy that maybe breaks into the lineup as a sophomore and potentially could be a 4-year guy. Kind of like Josh was. Josh broke in as a freshman, had some big at-bats there in his first year on campus. But John's a big dude, and he can hit it a long way. And that's kind of going to be his role when he breaks into the lineup, but it's going to take a year for him. So that's your 10 freshmen. You're looking at Cade Arambidi, Derek Curiel, William Schmidt, Maverick Rizzi, Kason Evans, Mikey Ryan, David Hogg, Ryan Costello, Cooper Williams, and John Pearson. That's a look at your freshman class. Let's take a look at the athletics college baseball polls. A lot of LSU flavor in this, including best pitcher all time, best hitter all time. Maybe not who you're thinking about, but we'll do all that when we come back.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
Genesis of Baton Rouge, genesisofbatonrouge.com is that website. Every car that is on the lot is online at genesisofbatonrouge.com. If you think luxury, think Genesis of Baton Rouge. And if you think luxury, don't immediately think, I can't afford that. Go see them. First of all, the dealership is absolutely first class. The great ambiance. It's an incredible facility. The team is fantastic. You can get some work done in there because it's quiet. Got great Wi-Fi, incredible coffee set up. Snacks are available as well. And they've got an incredible line of vehicles. So get by and see the brand ambassadors right there on Airline at PQ. And get behind the wheel. Let them show you what the difference is in those Genesis. You'll see every bell and whistle that you're looking for. It's comfortable, it's stylish, it's sleek, it drives fantastically, and it's very, very safe. All the way from the sedan through the SUVs. And every vehicle from the entry level to the highest end Genesis, comes with the same safety features. So they're never going to short you from that perspective. It's Genesis of Baton Rouge. Go see him at Airline in Pico or online at genesisofbatonrouge.com. Genesisofbatonrouge.com.
This is the Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN, Baton Rouge.
.45 ESPN Baton Rouge and Citizens Bank and Trust want to help cover your car payments. It's a $5,000 grand prize with a bonus chance to win free car washes from Benny's Car Wash for 6 months. We're also letting you earn extra entries by subscribing to our LouisianaSports.net daily newsletter. To sign up, visit 1045ESPN.com.
Okay, so this is done by The Athletic, and I'm going to keep this pretty LSU-centric here because that's obviously what the marketplace is. I was fascinated by the whole thing because I pay closer attention to college baseball than most people do. But this is Mitch Light at The Athletic. He talked on the record to, I said 8 previously, it's actually 10 college coaches. Elliot Avent at NC State, Willie Bloomquist at Arizona State, Paul Maneri now at South Carolina, Nick Bengioni at Kentucky, Billy O'Connor at Xavier, Brian O'Connor at Virginia, Kevin O'Sullivan at Florida, Steve Sabins at West Virginia, Brock Ungrit at San Diego, and Mark Wazakowski at Oregon. So currently 10 coaches. He asked them a series of questions. And one of them was, who's the best position player in the country not on your team in 2025? And Paul Maneri said, I'd have to go with the player that I recruited to LSU, Jared Jones. Most of the guys outside of that went with Jace Laviolette at Texas A&M, which I think you'd be hard-pressed not to go to. I think Laviolette right now is the favorite to be the number 1 overall pick. He can steal bases. He can play center field. Hits for a ton of power. He was an LSU commitment at one point, but ended up not at LSU and has done pretty well over there at Texas A&M. Now, best pitcher in 2025 was interesting. Two of the guys, Maneri included, went with Gabe Gackle at Arkansas. That's a name that you'll want to know. Kevin O'Sullivan went with Gabe Gackle as well. Sabins from West Virginia went with Zach Root, who is now at Arkansas, transferred from East Carolina. So 2 different Arkansas pitchers made this list. This is where it starts to get interesting, though. The best position player you have ever seen in college baseball. Now, Paul Maneri was asked this question, and I've been in Baton Rouge for Maneri's entire career in the SEC, and I have seen everybody that he has seen in the SEC. And I was just surprised at Paul Maneri's answer. He said, I guess I might have to go with Alex Bregman. Alex Bregman was freaking awesome at LSU. He won the Brooks Wallace Award as a freshman. He was the number 2 overall pick. He was on 2 awesome teams in 13 and 15. And he was great, fantastic. But I have a hard time suggesting that Alex Bregman was better than Dylan Cruz, who Paul Maneri just watched. He coached him for a year and then watched for 2 years win a national championship. For reference, Bregman in his career at LSU, and I realize it was a little different era. Bats were a little bit different. But you're talking about a guy who at LSU hit .337 with 21 home runs in his career. And Cruz, over the course of his LSU career, had 58 homers and hit .380. And they were both elite defenders at their position. Bregman was a bad shortstop his freshman year. He made a lot of errors his freshman year, but it was his first year playing shortstop. He grew into it, and by the time he finished, he was a great shortstop. Cruz was a great defender the whole time he was at LSU, started in right field and then moved over to center and was fantastic. They were both the second pick in the draft. They're both great players. I would have a hard time picking Alex Bregman's LSU career over Dylan Cruz's, and that has nothing to do with a national championship. That's just the power numbers, the average numbers. Cruz got on base every game the last year that he played. He hit .426 his last year. Dylan Cruz hit .426, okay, in one season. Bregman's best year would have been, he hit .323 his last year, .316 his second year, and is a freshman. This is when he won the Brooks Wallace Award. He hit .369. So still, I mean, that's great. .369 as a freshman He's a career 330 hitter. That's awesome. Cruz hit 426 this last year. So that's where I would go. Had some good answers for that. Nick Mingione said Alex Bregman as well. And Nick Mingione played against Dylan Cruz in the Super Regional 2 years ago. And he went with Bregman as well. So that surprised me that two of those guys would say that. Buster Posey got a lot of run here. Jack Caglione was O'Sullivan's pick. I don't have a problem with that. That guy was a freak. Adley Rutschman was a pick as well from Oregon State. Who's the best pitcher you have ever seen? As you would imagine, Paul Skeens got some love here. Paul Maneri said, I would love to go with Aaron Nola, but I have to go with Paul Skeens. And that makes a lot of sense. Trust me, I did a segment on this show where it was like midway through the 2023 season. And I did a segment was, if I had one game to win, would I give the ball to Aaron Nola or would I give it to Paul Skeens? And I said, we had like 6 weeks to go in the season, I would give the ball to Aaron Nola. And my reasoning was Nola always got you through 7, 8, or 9 innings. Always. He had a stretch of 4 SEC weekends where he threw a complete game 4 weeks in a row. And Nola did that every time out. There was never an instance where Nola went 5 2/3. It just didn't happen. And Skeens was striking so many people out early in the season that he was coming out of games after 6 innings. A lot. It was happening a lot early on. And I was like, well, I'll take the extra 6 outs and I'll go with Nola. By the end of it, I had changed my tune. Skeens blossomed into the most dominant pitcher I've ever seen, and he is clearly my pick. But Nick Mingione, who saw Paul Skeens in the Super Regional 2 years ago, went with David Price. Now, I can't tell you that's a terrible pick because David Price was the first pick in the draft. And David Price pitched for a really long time in the big leagues. But again, I would have to think that would be Skeens. Brian O'Connor said Steven Strasburg and Paul Skeens. He also added Chase Burns in there. Kind of a cheating answer, but 3 guys that were really, really tough to deal with. Kevin O'Sullivan did go with Paul Skeens there. And then I thought an interesting answer by Ungricht, who was at Stanford when Trevor Bauer was at UCLA. And he said, we beat Garrett Cole on Friday night, knocked him out of the game in the 5th inning, and our guys saw him really good. He was throwing 95, 96 at that time. And then Saturday night, here came Trevor Bauer. We had a bunch of guys in that lineup at that time that were really good, and we struck out 18 times. I'd never seen anything like it. Having Garrett Cole and Trevor Bauer as a 1-2 punch is pretty salty. And, of course, LSU ran into that team in the regional. LSU didn't face Cole. They only faced Bauer in the second game of that regional. But you saw that team. Having those 2 guys, that's pretty salty. And then Wazakowski threw it way back to Mike Messina when he was at Stanford. And then one other answer that I got that I thought was interesting was who's the team that might surprise some people in 2025, and Paul Maneri said Lamar, which, of course, Will Davis is the head coach over at Lamar. Will played for Paul and then was on his staff for a few years before he took the job at Lamar. So I think just kind of Lamar's been great the whole time Will's been there. He's done an awesome job there, but I thought that was kind of a random answer that was one he might have a good feeling on because he has a good relationship with Will Davis. So to me, I'm trying not to be like super petty, but the fact that none of these guys said that Dylan Cruz was the best player that they had seen was a little bit surprising to me, especially Mingione and Paul Maneri, who said an LSU guy and it wasn't Cruz. And maybe I'm taking crazy pills here. Maybe I'm maybe my feeling is not one that is shared by everybody, because I feel strongly that Dylan Cruz was a better college player than Alex Bregman, and I thought Alex Bregman rocked. And if I had to have an LSU shortstop on my all-LSU team, he's probably second behind Brandon Larson. I'm not trying to slight Alex Bregman when I bring this up. I'm just trying to say that I think Dylan Cruz is the best position player I've ever seen at LSU, and to suggest that there's another LSU player that played this recently that is better than him, I just don't agree with that. So I thought an interesting deal when you get coaches on the record like that. They're not in the middle of a season, so they can be a little bit more candid. I enjoyed it. It's a cool piece on The Athletic. If you're a subscriber, you can go check that out and see all the rest of those folks' answers that aren't quite as LSU and SEC-centric. I'm a big college baseball guy, so I enjoyed checking that out. You certainly can as well. I mentioned this a couple times throughout the show, and I'll continue to mention it throughout the week. I'll be out at Alec Box Stadium noon to 2 on Friday. So we're going to change up our schedule a little bit. OTB will still be there from 7 to 10. right here in studio. Then we'll go to Ruffino's an hour early from 10 to noon for Live at Lunch. Hunt Palmer Show, noon to 2 from the box. And then Matt will go long with the 4-hour AFR from 2 to 6 on Friday during LSU and Purdue Fort Wayne from the box. Weather looks okay. Looks like it'll be in the 60s with some clouds. Hopefully the rain stays away and we can enjoy a pleasant opening day out there at Alec Box Stadium for LSU baseball. All right, we got 30 minutes to go. Come back with us. Hunt Palmer Show.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
Audio Video Security Solutions, avssla.com is the website. Security, pretty important. Maybe the most important thing, security of your family and your home. For us in the Palmer house, we trust Mitchell Fisher and his team at Audio Video Security Solutions. We had him come out, told him we wanted to put some cameras in. He determined where those should be, looked over some pricing, said that's the ticket. They were out there the next day, got all those cameras put up. They supplied the equipment, did the installation, and they've been in charge of the customer service ever since, and it's been phenomenal. I can look at my front door, my back door 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. I can pause, I can zoom in, I can rewind. Don't pay any cloud storage fees at all, and if there are any issues, just call Mitchell because I got a cell phone number. It's an easy, and fantastic relationship that we've got with the folks at Audio Video Security Solutions. They're on Instagram at AVSS_BR. And, of course, they're online at AVSSLA.com. It's Audio Video Security Solutions, AVSSLA.com.
You're listening to The Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN, Baton Rouge.
Some reports starting to circulate about potential movement with the New Orleans Saints and their coaching staff. One name that is being reported as a potential target for the New Orleans Saints as far as offensive coordinator goes is Kevin Patullo. Jeremy Fowler from ESPN is reporting, look for Philadelphia associate head coach, pass game coordinator Kevin Patullo to receive strong consideration for both the Eagles and Saints offensive coordinator jobs. And that makes a lot of sense. He's been there for the last 4 years. Nick Sirianni has had a good working relationship with him. Kellen Moore joined that fold earlier this year. So obviously, like, I've never heard of Kevin Patullo until 30 minutes ago, candid as I can be. But I can read a bio and I can put dots together here. Here's what I think this situation boils down to. When you look at the opportunities in Philadelphia and New Orleans, okay, Philadelphia is in a position right now to go on a real run. You've got Jalen Hurts under contract. You've got A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith in their prime. Saquon Barkley didn't exactly look like he lost a step this year. Get what I'm saying? Like, you've got a great offensive line. Like, that is an offense that is set up over the next 2-3 years to be excellent. And if you look at the Saints, you've got a quarterback that is either going to be out the door in this offseason or next offseason. You've got an offensive line that's been banged up and not super productive. You've got 2 wide receivers coming off significant injuries. You've got a tight end position that's got some moving pieces, and aging Taysom Hill. Alvin Kamara's in pushing 30. Like, you don't have quite the candy store in New Orleans that you would in Philadelphia. So if this comes down to, okay, Coach Patullo, you want to coach that offense or you want to coach this offense? He's going to pick the offense in green, not the one in black. That seems easy to me. But as you understand, there are different layers to this. Keep in mind that Patullo was on staff this past year as the pass game coordinator and associate head coach. And the Eagles still went out and brought Kellen Moore in to call the plays. So maybe Patullo would look at Nick Sirianni, who apparently he's got a great relationship with, and go, well, you didn't want me last year to be the play caller. Why this year? I'm spitballing here, but I'm trying to make the case for the Saints because I've laid this out initially, and there's no chance in my estimation that you would leave Philly for the Saints if you're just talking about whose offense can I coordinate to score more points. But if you feel like you can have a loyalty to Kellen Moore and he can give you more opportunity than Sirianni was willing to give you last year, maybe that is someone you could bring to New Orleans. I couldn't tell you if he's great at calling plays or not. I can look at his bio. You're looking at a guy who played at South Florida and has been in coaching since 2003. He's a 20-year vet of coaching. He's been with the Chiefs as an offensive assistant and quality control coach. Same thing in Buffalo, where he coached the wide receivers as well. Coached wide receivers in Tennessee. Quarterback coach with the Jets. Wide receivers coach with the Colts. Passing game specialist with the Colts. Pass game coordinator with the Eagles. So never saddled with the whole workload over the course of 20 years, but has certainly worked with a lot of coaches, worked with a lot of quarterbacks, and has now got real live experience with Nick Sirianni and with Kellen Moore. It kind of feels like, based on the reporting, that you're looking at either Kevin Patullo or, I always want to say Garrett Nussmeier instead of Doug Nussmeier. I have to catch myself every time. Or Doug Nussmeier. Those are the two guys who Moore worked with most closely with this offense. Now, Sirianni's an offensive guy too. He was the offensive coordinator with the Colts before he went to Philly. But you feel like the real brain trust on the offensive side, as Sirianni was kind of running the whole thing 30,000 feet, was Kellen Moore as the offensive coordinator, Doug Nussmeier coaching quarterbacks, Kevin Patullo working with the wide receivers and passing game specialist. So the Saints' only chance here is that there's a relationship play and what Patullo would consider an opportunity to move up in New Orleans. Does he take that opportunity? We'll see. Candidly, I'm not as concerned with the offensive coordinators, with the offensive coaches that Kellen Moore hires. Certainly it is important. I don't want to dismiss it to nothing. I'm more concerned, more interested in what he does on defense. Because as I said at the top of the show, and as I still feel, Kellen Moore is going to be the offensive identity of this franchise as long as he's the head coach there. It's the same way you could feel about Sean Payton. It's the same way you could feel about Dennis Allen's defense. Did you really care that much who Dennis Allen's defensive coordinator was while he was the head coach of the Saints? Not as much. And especially in a situation where you've got Kellen Moore calling plays. I need an offensive coordinator that's good at this, but it's not as important as the other side of the ball where you're going to kind of let that person run the show. And so I will continue to cover these things and we'll continue to analyze them. And I feel like as we sit here today, there's a better chance that Doug Nussmeier is the offensive coordinator of the Saints instead of Kevin Patullo. Just start to float me some more defensive names. And if it's Brandon Staley, it's Brandon Staley. That's completely fine. But that's the side of the ball that I'm most interested in seeing develop because you've got that identity and a pillar there on the offensive side, which I feel good about. You can criticize the Kellen Moore hire for the optics of of how it happened. You can criticize it based on the fact that he hasn't done this at this level. You can criticize it on the fact that he hasn't run an organization before. It's hard to criticize him as an offensive mind. That's the part of it that should certainly translate if given the proper personnel. But the defense is where you've got to get it figured out because we know that when Sean Payton was in New Orleans and he had the right defensive coordinator, say what you will about Greg Williams, but that worked. When he had Dennis Allen, when he got the right defensive coordinator on the other side of the ball, man, it was humming. When you got the wrong guy, it didn't go well with Spags. It didn't go right with Rob Ryan. You got the wrong guy, it spiraled. So to me, show me who the Saints can find on the defensive side of things, and then I'll start to feel a little bit more strongly about the immediate future of where the organization is headed. So if you missed that, Kevin Patullo being rumored to have interest from the Saints as well as the Eagles. I think Doug Nussmeier very much in that conversation as well. We'll just see what Kellen Moore decides to do, and we'll see also when he is scheduled to meet with the media as the official head coach of the Saints sometime this week. We expect to hear that news. So we'll step aside. We got one more time out to go. We'll play some Take It or Leave It, and we will get on down the road. It's a Tuesday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
One Bath and Closets. OneBathAndClosets.com is the website. David Duvall and his team, 30 years redesigning and remodeling bathrooms and closets. Safety is a big deal in the bathroom. can be a hazardous spot, especially as folks age. Falls can be bad deals. And while you can never completely eliminate that risk, you can mitigate against it. Non-slip floors. You can have a tub. It's walk-in. You can put a bench in that shower, handrails around the slippery areas. Those are the things that David Vaughn and his team do all the time, and they are happy to help you with it. But you got to start that conversation with the free consultation. Tell them the Hunt Palmer Show sent you. Start that conversation. They're going to get it right the first time and leave the competition behind. Not one of those deals where they're going to do the job, make sure they get it done, get to the next check. You call them 2 weeks later, hey, this is not right. Can you come back and fix it? Oh, sure. That's not how it works. And they got a lifetime warranty at One Bath and Closets. They take their craftsmanship very, very seriously. That's why you should trust them. It's One Bath and Closets. Find them online at onebathandclosets.com. Onebathandclosets.com.
This is the Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN, Baton Rouge.
One 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge is your home for the New Orleans Pelicans. Tune in as the Pelicans host the Sacramento Kings Wednesday night at 7 p.m. and Thursday night at 7 p.m. They'll host the Kings again, a little back-to-back there for the Pels. Pels coverage is brought to you locally by Industry Makes. Also, as Hunt mentioned a little bit earlier, you can join him live from the box as we celebrate opening day for LSU baseball. Come out and watch a special edition of the Hunt Palmer Show from noon to 2 inside Fan Fest presented by Powerade as the Tigers prepare to open the 2025 season against Purdue Fort Wayne. It's opening day at the box with 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Trivia question, Beck.
Okay.
Purdue Fort Wayne.
Yeah.
What is their team nickname?
You know, anytime I hear Fort Wayne, there's a reason why, but anytime I hear that, I just think of the Fort Wayne Mad Ants, which was the NBA D-League affiliate. That was the team name.
Okay.
The reason I think about that is because I used to play a lot of NBA 2K basketball.
Okay.
And
with the D-League team?
Yeah, my when you start out as your player, you don't just start out as, a 99 overall player where you're really good playing for the NBA. You have to start out in the D-League.
Okay.
And my player played for the Fort Wayne Mad Ants. So that's all I think about when I think of Fort. I have no idea who their mascot is.
It's actually kind of close to that phonetically, but it's not the Mad Ants.
Okay.
It's the Mastodons.
Oh, all right. What's the logo? I don't even know what you would have. It's like a dragon?
Elephant with the tusks.
Okay.
So Mastodons coming into the box.
Do you think you think they have a lot of those in Fort Wayne, Indiana?
They could. You never know.
Yeah.
There's a lot of interestingly named schools in that area. You got IUPUI.
Yeah, well, first of all, Ooey
Indiana University, Purdue University in Indianapolis. And then you got Purdue Fort Wayne Mastodons. Just a lot going on over there. But yeah, I will be out in front of the box. Very much looking forward to that on Friday. We did it last year as well. Hopefully this season goes a little bit better than last year's did when we started the season from just outside the box. But it's going to be a lot of fun no matter what. Then into the press box for me, writing things up for LouisianaSports.net, which is a little bit of a change of a pace for me as well. But we've adjusted to it pretty well in basketball, and we'll do it again in baseball this season. So looking forward to all that. If you're looking for some baseball info, a little bit more baseball coverage, you can get that. Musso and I put out our season preview. It's now the third year that we've done that. Started off with a bang. Got it done with the national championship. First year we did it. Not as good last year, but got it up again today. So it's 40 minutes of me and Musso just going around the diamond, talking about the depth chart, talking about positions, some concerns that we may have, who we think will be the starting pitchers, closers, that kind of thing. So if you're looking for some more baseball content, check that out on 104.5 ESPN's YouTube channel, or it's been tweeted by 104.5 ESPN. I'm going to retweet it as soon as I get off the air. I wanted to let it breathe a little bit as Musso and the official handle tweeted it out, and then I'll give it a second and I'll go ahead and get it up for the afternoon crowd a little bit later today. But it's up. You can go find it at 104.5 ESPN on Twitter or at 104.5 ESPN's YouTube channel. All right, take it or leave it.
Take it or leave it.
Take it or leave it.
Today's hottest stories in sports, news, and sometimes even Hunt's life. The question is, will he take them or leave them?
Just take it.
Alrighty, first one here. The Mavs fans are still not happy about the Luka Doncic trade. Multiple fans were ejected in the second half of the Mavs 129-128 loss to the Sacramento Kings on Monday at the American Airlines Center due to violations of the NBA's Code of Conduct, according to a team spokesperson. Each instance prompted boos from the crowd. Mavericks Governor Patrick Dumont, whose family purchased majority share from Mark Cuban, was loudly booed when he returned to his courtside seat with a few minutes left in the third quarter. Two of the fans that were ejected held large poster board signs that read "Fire Nico" in reference to their general manager, Nico Harrison. One of the men was seen mouthing "Fire Nico" on the arena video screens early in the game before the camera quickly panned out. You feel for the Mavs fans. Take it or leave it.
I'll take it. I do.
I'll take it.
You just don't see 24-year-old franchise faces traded in any sport. It just does not generally happen. And especially in that sport where having the guy is the most important thing. And it's not like it was like, man, this guy might have a lot of potential. They just went to the finals like 5 minutes ago.
Yeah.
And then you trade. And then if you're the Mavs executives, the worst case scenario happens and AD gets hurt immediately. And it's just, you could see it coming. If it was a sitcom, this is exactly how they would write it. And yeah, I feel for him. Like, I don't think you ought to be throwing stuff at people or, chanting expletives, but you want to bring a sign, you want to voice your displeasure and boo, like, I'm not gonna get on you.
All right, next one here. The New York Jets, according to multiple sources, moving on from Aaron Rodgers, and reports are circulating their top target to replace him is none other than Falcons quarterback Kirk Cousins. Cousins in a Jets uniform. Take it or leave it.
I'm going to leave it.
Leave it alone.
They just tried the washed-up quarterback, and it didn't work, so now they want to try the washed-up quarterback again?
I guess so.
I guess
sounds like something the Saints would do.
There's not a great option here. You're going to go with Justin Fields, or I don't know what you're trying to accomplish here. But look, this is the hardest thing to get right. The hardest thing to get right is to get your quarterback, and the Saints are wallowing in the desert here, and the Jets have been there for quite some time, and they thought they had it fixed 2 years ago, and they clearly do not. And I don't have a great answer for you, and I feel like Kirk Cousins is probably available based on the way that Penix played late. So maybe, but I don't think it's going to work.
Yeah, probably not. But it's the Jets. They like to make decisions that don't make sense a lot of times. So maybe they will bring in Mr. Kirko Chains. All right, last one here. Alex Bregman is reportedly likely to sign with the Cubs, Red Sox, or Tigers. He will not sign with the Cubs. Take it or leave it.
I will take it.
I'll take it.
The market would actually have to crater for him to be the Cubs.
The market has cratered a little bit, it seems.
It's cratering. But I feel like the Cubs are still going to wait that out. They feel like they've got their next third baseman there. Bregman's just kind of taking his time. He's not going to sign any sort of mega deal at 31 years old. He's just trying to find, I think, the right spot for a quality price. Someone will pay up. Most teams have not gotten to spring training yet. The Cubs have, because they play the Dodgers in Japan coming up. So I would guess Bregman will be signed within the next 15 days. And that's fine. You just got to stay in shape. I selfishly would like it. I think he would be a good ad, but you've got to tell me what the contract looks like. If it's some sort of 3-year deal for $100+ million, I'm completely out. If they can get him for 1 year at 18, sign me up. That sounds awesome.
But it seems like the problem right now is that he wants a 6 or 7 year, and nobody's willing to do that. So it's just going to become a question of who's going to be willing to give him the most money in a shorter contract.
And so that's what they all want. They all want that security of the years.
Maybe like a Cody Bellinger.
Yeah, and the Cubs, the market created for Bellinger, nobody would sign him, so the Cubs did there. So yeah, that'd be really cool if Bregman signed with the Cubs, especially since I got to deal with Skeens in my division now. But I just don't think they're going to bite that bullet when they've got their best prospect coming right there at that position. So we'll see. You think they're going to sign him?
No, I don't. Of course not. I mean, why would we ever think the Cubs are going to sign a big name player? They don't do it.
Kyle Tucker.
Yeah, that was nice, but that's the one. If they were to sign Kyle Tucker and Alex Bregman in the same offseason, I would be shocked, but also very happy to see that the ownership is actually willing to spend some money.
They traded for Tucker, so
Yes.
you don't get all the credit for that.
Yeah.
But yeah, as far as the big expenditures, I don't think that's going to happen anytime soon. But I'm just glad that there's like legitimate baseball in my feed. LSU's been scrimmaging for a couple of weeks. They play in 3 days. The Cubs are at spring training. That feels very, very good. And I realize our weather's been like in the 80s for the last 4 days.
Yeah.
So it doesn't really feel like winter, but it is winter, and I'm excited that there's baseball that is coming. So that's it for Take It or Leave It here on this Tuesday. Tomorrow's show going to be fun. We're going to start our weekly conversations with Koki Riley of The Advocate. He's covering the LSU baseball team again, so we'll talk to him on Wednesdays. Matthew Bruni's going to come aboard to try to make sense of this basketball team. We'll preview LSU and Arkansas is where they are, or they're Oklahoma. I can't even remember. That's where they are on this
Basketball?
deal. I know that they're on the road this week at Arkansas and Oklahoma, but I don't know which one's which. I think they're at Arkansas tomorrow.
Wow.
Look it up.
I'm getting there. They are.
We're talking about it either way.
Yes, they are at Arkansas.
That's what I thought. So they'll be at Bud Walton at 8 o'clock tomorrow night. So we'll talk about that as well. It's a What If Wednesday, so plenty to do. And I would imagine some more Saints hirings will come out, and we'll get some information as to when Kellen Moore will meet with the media for the first time as the Saints head coach. So lots to do on tomorrow's show. If you missed any today's show, you can always catch it on demand. 1045ESPN.com's on demand tab, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google, wherever you find your sound. Just search Hunt Palmer Show. Like, subscribe, rate, and review. Talked about Kellen Moore at the top of the show. Sharif Ishak gave his thoughts on the state of the Saints organization at 1:15. Glenn West talking hoops and baseball at 1:30. NFL mock draft from Field Yates has Will Campbell in the top 5. We talked about that at 1:45. About 30 minutes of baseball discussion, including all of LSU's freshmen. If you missed this, Jay Johnson announced his starting shortstop and third baseman. Stephen Milam will be your shortstop on Friday afternoon. Michael Braswell will play third base. That was courtesy of the folks over at TigerBait.com. We're done. Matt's going to drive you home next one after further review. We'll see you tomorrow, same time, same place. The Hunt Palmer Show.
The Hunt Palmer Show.